to anyone?
Nobody.
So he just wants national
Maybe he
attention.
has a few fans.
Well, there are a couple other senators who occasionally ask him questions, and he yields the floor. But by yielding for a question, then he still controls the floor. This is not a filibuster, by the way.
So here's what did you miss last night when you made that dumb decision to sleep?
I rise with the intention of disrupting the normal business of the United States Senate for as long as I am physically able. I rise tonight because I believe sincerely that our country is in crisis.
I'm puzzled by his language, though. What is the crisis? You have a president of the United States that won the national popular vote and a landslide in the Electoral College. He is sitting, according to CBS News as of yesterday, at a 50% approval rating. What is the crisis? I mean, he's effectively executing on the policy agenda that he ran on, and he's sitting at about 50%, which is far higher than the last president. If this is a crisis, what was the Joe Biden term?
In an Oscar-worthy performance of political theater, Senator Cory Booker took to the podium to declare, "Brace yourself, that America is in crisis." Naturally, this harrowing revelation came as quite the shock to Americans who had just finished enjoying record low unemployment, surging stock markets, and the inconvenience of too many job offers. Enter commentator Scott Jennings, who graciously stepped in, not with a rebuttal, but a reality check. Jennings pointed out that, inconveniently for Booker's doomsday narrative, the president's approval ratings stubbornly refused to collapse, and his policies appear to be doing this outrageous thing called working. It's as if the American people missed the memo about the apocalypse. Booker's speech might have landed better if facts weren't such a buzzkill. Alas, when your script is the end is near, and the audience is enjoying economic prosperity, the horror movie flop. Better luck next crisis.
I rise with the intention of disrupting the normal business of the United States Senate for as long as I am physically able. I rise tonight because I believe sincerely that our country is in crisis. We are not solving the deficit in what they're proposing here. They're cutting and cutting and cutting things that make no sense to cut, and they're doing it for tax breaks which disproportionately go to the wealthiest. Placing tariffs on our biggest trade partners is beyond unfair. This drives the cost of goods up, and the consumer is the one who ends up paying the increase. Even with universities got too woke and had two excesses, the antidote to that isn't to try to shut down the thought of the left. It's to try to make a fair, more competitive marketplace for ideas from all around the political spectrum.
Cory Spartacus. Booker stars in yet another episode of Looney Tunes. Senate edition gather round folks and behold the latest slapstick special from the Democratic Party, where political strategy is replaced with cartoonish stunts and the laws of logic are as optional as Hunter Biden's security clearance. Leading the charge this week is none other than Senator Cory "I am Spartacus Booker," bravely attempting to filibuster reality for a solid 18 hours. Yes, 18 hours of uninterrupted Booker. An oratorical marathon that managed to say absolutely nothing of legislative value, unless you count dramatic sighs, poetic pauses, and vague accusations hurled at Donald Trump and Elon Musk in between praise for some random foreign policy buddy. Somewhere between Act IUA and intermission, viewers were seen fleeing the C-SPAN livestream in record numbers, reportedly begging for commercials. With the same tenacity as Wile E. Coyote chasing the ever-elusive Roadrunner, Booker took to the Senate floor to inform the nation that it's in crisis. Again, the only real emergency? How many coffees the stenographer needed to survive his performance? Despite his impassioned soliloquy about tax cuts, college tuition, and the existential threat of Trump's success, the public remained largely unmoved, possibly because they were too busy enjoying the prosperity Booker insists doesn't exist. It's the kind of political theater that makes you wonder if Spartacus is a senator or auditioning for a daytime Emmy. Either way, the Democrats' plan to take down Trump seems to have the same success rate as Acme rocket skates. Big launch, no follow-through, and a puff of smoke shaped like electoral regret. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where Booker attempts to filibuster a vending machine for offering Diet Coke instead of justice.
Definitely think it's representative of anger in the Democratic base. There's no question about that. And I think Booker's moves tonight are representative of the fact that there's a vacuum at the top of the Democratic Party. There's no leader. The only leader that really exists is Jasmine Crockett. She's the one you see on TV most often. Booker's trying to, fill some of that vacuum. I'm puzzled by his language, though. What is the crisis? You have a president of the United States that won the national popular vote and a landslide in the Electoral College. He is sitting, according to CBS News as of yesterday, at a 50% approval rating. What is the crisis? I mean, he's effectively executing on the policy agenda that he ran on, and he's sitting at about 50%, which is far higher than the last president. If this is a crisis, what was the Joe Biden term? A mega crisis? I don't know.
I think the crisis is that we're seeing people deported without due process. We're seeing the very fundamental aspects of our democracy at question. That's what people are scared about. And so they want to see. I think the one thing you and I can agree on, Scott, right now is the Democrats aren't doing what they need to do. Can we agree on that? Well,
I don't know.
I think we can all agree on that.
Let me put it this way.
You raise a good question, because I think, and look, my party's gone through this. You lose, and then everybody wants you to do something. Right? What are we going to do? Sometimes there's not much to do until you get to the next election. That's the next.
Cory Booker fills leadership void by dramatically yelling into it, yes, another riveting night in the Democratic Party's ongoing production of Who's Actually in Charge. A political drama where the cast changes daily, the script is mostly improved, and the audience is made up of confused voters and very tired interns. Cory Booker, always eager to be the main character, has sensed a leadership vacuum and decided, yes, this is my moment to speak for 18 hours straight. About. That part's unclear. Something about a crisis. Maybe the vibes are off. Maybe Jasmine Crockett stole his spotlight. Maybe the vending machine ate his dollar. Who knows? The only thing certain is that Booker wants to be seen doing something, even if that something is just word vomiting on the Senate floor while nobody, including Booker himself, seems entirely sure what the crisis is. Let's check the scoreboard. President won the national popular vote, Electoral College, landslide, approval rating, a tidy 50, economy, still breathing, democracy, mildly wheezing, but hanging in there. Enter Scott Jennings, the designated adult in the room, scratching his head on live TV and politely asking, "What is the crisis?" Jennings, armed with the radical weapon known as facts, pointed out that President Biden is executing the very agenda he ran on, with an approval rating that, while not legendary, is far from disastrous. Jennings seemed genuinely puzzled, like a substitute teacher walking into a class mid-food fight and asking, "But why are you throwing mashed potatoes at the ceiling?" According to Booker and friends, it might be that some people are being deported without due process, concerning yes, or that democracy is at question, which coincidentally is also the status of Booker's entire speech. One big question mark. And just when you think it couldn't get any foggier, someone drops the plot twist. Jasmine Crockett is the de facto leader of the Democratic Party, which is like saying the DJ at your cousin's wedding is now head of state. Charismatic maybe, but not exactly what we'd call a strategy. One brave soul tries to reason. Look, when your party loses, people expect action. But sometimes you just have to wait for the next election. Translation: we have no idea what we're doing, but give us a few months and we'll think of something. So, in conclusion, the Democratic Party's top strategy appears to be yelling crisis. While the House is mostly fine, Booker is still rehearsing Shakespeare in the rotunda. Jasmine Crockett is somewhere on MSNBC live streaming the revolution from her iPhone, and Scott Jennings is backstage with a clipboard, wondering if anyone here has read the script. Stay tuned for next week's episode of Democrats, the soap opera, where Nancy Pelosi might or might not declare herself queen, and Booker gives another speech titled, "Why I Am Still Spartacus," again. Anyway, let me know what you think. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It helps us, it helps the mission, and it helps bring honest conversation to the table.